episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
I pre-cracked, guys. I couldn't wait.
That is an ice cold Pilsner.
It's so good.
It's buttery crisp. Is buttery crisp a thing? I feel like buttery and crisp are two opposite
Have you
things.
seen the video of the old woman and old man trying to do that?
Buttery,
crispy, flaky, buttery crust.
buttery, flaky crisps. Buttery, flaky crisps. And she's like, Bill!
And then he does it, or it's whoever does it afterwards completely screws it up too. They're like crispy, buttery, flaky
crispy,
crust.
fluttery breast.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, there's this hilarious like outtake of some probably like Cracker Barrel commercial.
Yeah,
and it's these old farmer couple. And they're sitting down at this table and the camera is going across the table and he's supposed to say like made with a buttery flaky crust or something, but he can't get it.
Cannot get it.
And they do something like 40 takes and she's getting furious at him.
And they finally then switch who's saying the lines and then the other person can't say it right either. And it's just like,
and the people are like, the people on the crew, you hear them behind the camera going like, flaky, flaky. And he's like, oh yeah, buttery, flurgy crust. And they're like, what? That is a really funny video.
Dude, you should, there's also, just terms of commercial flops, are Orson Welles he was doing commercials.
Orson Welles.
Not Orson. Who the fuck did it? Orson
Orville
Welles is
Redenbacher? Is that
no?
Popcorn?
Orson Welles is a writer.
Oh, Orson Welles. Okay, I was thinking like, okay, I wasn't even thinking that.
God, why do they always come when I'm not at the gym?
The feds are raiding the gym.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, what were you saying?
Oh, there's
Orson Welles or something?
Orson Welles is there's a director. Who the fuck is the director for this? But anyway, he was doing like champagne commercials. He started a wine company, and he gets just so hammered in his commercials.
Like clearly he's been drinking his own business.
Yeah, trying to do them, and he has a very notable voice. He's like a really, really famous director, but he's got this.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles is the
kind
director.
of a big guy with a beard.
Okay,
I love watching those videos.
Why am I blanking on? I'm confusing him with the sci-fi writer.
Oh,
because
Orson Welles is like, he talks like this, and he's always like, yeah. Orson, those videos are amazing of him just doing interviews and stuff like that. I actually love the Orson Welles videos. That's so funny. Yes, I actually showed Jess the other night. I was watching Orson Welles at like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
like him like just talk.
Dude, so his wine commercials are so funny.
Because he's just wasted. Oh, wow.
This is California.
We'll show.
Best California champagne. Pour maçon.
And he's just completely, he's been drinking it all day.
Best French champagne. Yeah, you've never seen those?
I've never seen. It's funny. I've watched countless hours of just Orson Welles talking on like late nights or like interviews or whatever.
He read, the reason I was getting it confused is he did there's this famous radio thing he did where he read this sci-fi book about aliens landing.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And people started like jumping out of windows. They thought it was real.
Oh, like a cult thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the movie Tom Cruise was in. There's an alien landing. Tom Cruise is in it. Day After Tomorrow or some
Day After Tomorrow or Oblivion.
I think it's Day After Tomorrow where they're like the three-legged.
Oh, no. Yeah, Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah. So Orson Welles read that story.
Like original story.
It was like we like interrupt your
right.
we're doing this, and people started thinking like there was a real fucking alien
and then
invasion.
he had to go on the news and apologize and just be like, by the way, it's not real.
People were killing themselves.
I remember this.
This is like some crazy.
No, because he was going on. Mm-hmm. And it was like he was reading it like it was really happening. He was reading it like it was news. It was before the internet. Obviously, it was like in the 50s or 60s. So people would listen to the radio and think this is the government calling us. Yes. Like the government's saying the aliens are here. The aliens are here.
Yes.
And he was just reading a book, doing like kind of a funny thing. And so people were like, "Oh my god, the aliens are actually here!" And they would like jump out and try to like run away.
People thought like the major cities were under attack, and that they were like, dude, it was like really crazy.
And then he had to be like, by the way, I was just joking. It was just a book. I'm just kidding. Like, everyone chill. Talk about like the difference between now and then. Like, now if the aliens come, we won't even believe they're here because we'll think it's some installation by an artist. And back then, all it takes is one guy on the radio going, the aliens are here. And everyone's like, oh my God.
We literally got confirmation.
Oh, right. Those NASA pictures.
No one gave a shit.
Everyone's like, whatever, dude.
Everyone's like, Kardashians have a new season.
Which is, I'm sure, very good.
That's like pretty much how people reacted. Was the U.S. government's like, we're acknowledging this thing, and people were just like, who cares?
By the way, aliens, if you're listening, because I know most aliens are big Bros fans, now would be a good time to attack if you're looking to take over, just because we will be defenseless because we won't even believe it's you. We'll just think it's someone like in Times Square with a like a.
They're not real.
They'll be like, that person's just in Hollywood and fine in like a Spider-Man costume.
It's so crazy.
Do you think aliens are real?
I know that they are real.
No, a UFO was real, but I mean aliens.
No, I mean, I was just, dude, I was just reading something about space, and it said like there's more planets in the universe. It was either more planets, we're going to say planets rather than galaxies, but it was more planets in the universe than seconds that have passed since the Big Bang.
So it's just endless, basically. And that's infinity as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it was just like there's more.
We're talking billions of years in seconds, which is just infinity at that point. I don't even care.
There's more like okay, so then you want to make the argument that we're literally in a never-ending expanse of possibilities. You'd rather latch on to the belief, you'd rather hedge your bet that we're the only existence of life.
What did you hear? There's
so
either
stupid
a lot of aliens or no aliens. It's like one of the two. But there's very, very unlikely that there's like a couple. It's either there's tons and they're everywhere, or there's like none.
I think that's like a pretty reasonable. It's either like it's a one-off or like it's everywhere. But it's also, I think people underestimate forms of life. Like
Sure, we're thinking like other people like us instead of just like some sort of weird.
I mean, there's those arguments that just get into like so much like metaphysical stuff. But to me, it's just simply like hedging your bet against the odds.
What kind of alien would you like to be? Like let's say alien touches down tomorrow. What is your ideal alien?
Like if we were to encounter.
Like they show up tomorrow. What are you looking for?
I don't want some humanoid. I would want some crazy other thing,
Obviously nice, but just a nice, crazy other thing.
Nice situation. It's hard for me to wrap around. It's hard for me not to dissociate, like to separate it from all the other,
like the sci-fi imagery we have and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I would love it if they were like some, they had to be like housed in some sort of crazy chamber because they're like aquatic in some way. But so then like when we encounter them, they have like these crazy like aqua seals around them.
They're aquatic, but they don't breathe underwater. So they wear
space travel. Yeah, but they have to have like these aqua suits where like it's like, they're taking their atmosphere around with them.
But even though they don't exist in the atmosphere because they have to wear shields.
There was a book that I read where like these space, it was a crazy situation in space, but they were trying to a human encountered another alien species where like the sun was dying, and they were sharing the same star, so they were both sent to sort of figure out a solution to what was going on, and there was a bacteria eating the heat that was being generated from the sun, and so this bacteria was basically like eating the sun, and they were sent to this universe to also solve the solution. But that alien's universe had a much higher density of just gravity than ours. So it'd be like Earth's gravity times like 200.
Right.
So in order for them to like, when they wanted to, they wanted to be able to like work on the problem together, they had to create an atmosphere, like a contained atmosphere that created the amount of pressure he would need.
We've been doing this too long.
That he would need to sustain. I just like this. I really like that idea. I like how complex it is. Of like,
but like it's too long.
If we were to meet these other beings, I don't want it to be so simple for them to be like, oh, we're just so compatible. We can just step off our ship and breathe Earth's
Do you want them
air.
to be attractive?
I like the idea of like sexy aliens, like in Star Trek, you know?
That's what
I think is funny is like in that stuff, it's like, it's always a humanoid thing because we have to like be able to play them.
Like, you know.
What is it? Is it Oblivion where the egg like spaceship lands?
Arrival.
Dude, that is one of my favorite
so you want that kind of
alien
vibe.
Movies.
See, I want Avatar. I want like cool, like a little different, but like kind of like us.
A humanoid.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the hots. I had the hots for the Avatar girl.
I was gonna say Evan wants sexy aliens. Evan wants.
Hey, if you're gonna come down, you might as well be sexy.
You might as well be hot.
Dude, I remember watching that show or that movie. You know, I don't know. How old were we? 10, 13?
In high school. We were in high school.
Okay, well, I remember thinking like, that's, you know, I'm into this alien.
There were 2 movies. I know we were in high school. You were into it.
Just roast me for it all the time.
I'd be into some blue alien stuff. Is that what you bring up for if you guys are doing some role play?
I'm Avatar. I'm like, connect to my tail. Woo!
Okay, broads, interrupting the bros, so I think I can speak for everyone when I say the holidays should be spent with friends and family, celebrating and savoring all the special moments, and not a single second of that should be wasted standing in line at the post office. Unfortunately, the reality of life is that things need to be shipped, especially during the holidays, so you might be thinking going to the post office is unavoidable, but actually, that's not the case. Not if you use Stamps.com.
Stamps.com. We love them. They're the online platform that brings the post office to you. Anything you could do at the post office, you can do from your home office, your couch, wherever you want. You can print postage, schedule pickups, compare shipping rates. And if you run a small business, it gets better because Stamps.com can integrate with Etsy, Shopify, eBay, a lot of other storefronts, so you can run your online business seamlessly and ship to all of your customers with no problemo.
So already you're going to save a whole lot of time thanks to Stamps.com, but it doesn't just stop there. You're also going to save money, which is everyone's favorite sentence around the holidays especially, right? Stamps.com gets you access to savings you can't even get at the post office, and they really add up. So, what are you waiting for?
Get ahead of the holiday chaos this year. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code CHATTY for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the mic at the top of the homepage, enter code CHATTY.
So, fall is for cozy sweaters, scary movies, and pumpkin-spiced everything. Yes, go ahead and call me basic, okay? I like pumpkin-spiced everything. But if you work in healthcare, fall is also for new colors and styles in Figs. And that is something to get excited about. If you don't already know, Figs is the company that is totally turning traditional scrubs on its head by making scrubs comfortable, functional, and stylish, because there's no reason you can't have all 3.
If you've been in any sort of medical office or have any friends in the medical profession, there is a good chance you've seen a pair of Figs. They're everywhere. Everyone loves Figs. They're created with ridiculously soft 4-way stretch fabric. They're moisture wicking, anti-wrinkle, anti-odor, and some of their styles have up to 20 pockets, and they're extremely cute.
There are also a ton of different styles to choose from, but if you need a starting point, you can pick up one of their best-selling core scrubs, which will never go out of style and are super easy to mix and match. Also, if you work in a medical office, you can get your Figs customized with text or icon embroidery. I actually went to an office the other day where the team had this, and it was so cute. Also, Figs, if you have any friends or family members who are in the healthcare industry, this is a great holiday gift idea. A pair of Figs? Amazing.
Figs believes that the awesome humans in healthcare deserve awesome scrubs to match. Head to wearfigs.com. Use promo code ChattyBroads. You'll get 15% off your first offer. That's wearfigs, WEAR, figs.com. Promo code ChattyBroads.
So
how was your weekend? Good? All right, cool. No, I'm just kidding. Oh.
Dude, this week's been crazy. Becca's doing her workshop, so I'm just alone with the kids. Which is nice, honestly. It's like nice to spend time with them and just get unsolicited dad time. But it's also, it's cool for a couple of days. and they're now at the age where I can actually have a conversation of like, she's not here. It's just us. And they're both like, oh, okay.
I feel like the same way with Amber. It's like there's something about when I have her alone versus both of us. She almost kind of wants both of our attentions. And there's almost like then me and Jess are talking. In some ways, it's more fun for like the conversation that we're all hanging out, but it's also can be more difficult because you're trying to talk to her. You're then they want your attention evenly, but as opposed to like when it's one-on-one, it's a little calmer, I feel, where like they kind of settle into like, it's just me and you and we're kind of doing our thing. And if dad's kind of like got to do something, like make food or something, they kind of settle into what they're doing versus if you are making food and they have mom, then they're bugging mom and then no one can really rest.
Well, exactly.
You know?
They're so chill when it's just me. Like they're like, I just realized all they want me to do is chase. They just want me to chase them around.
Yeah.
And they just want me to pretend to be a bear.
Just fun guy.
That's basically it.
Disneyland dad.
Yeah. And then read them some books, brush their teeth, and they're super psyched.
Got it.
But Frank, I used to have to walk him through every room of the house to show him that Becca wasn't actually in the house
because he wasn't old enough to grasp it.
Going to bed. Now I just told him, I was like, no, she's not here. It's just me. And he was like, okay.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's chill.
Right.
But now this morning was the first time where they were like, okay, like
get her back.
Where is she?
Right. Because how long is she gone for? Like a week?
Sunday. She gets back on Saturday.
Oh, so a week.
Back into our lives on Saturday.
Right. And a week's a chunk.
It's a long time for a 2-year-old.
He doesn't really like after one day, he's like, okay, is she back from her trip?
They don't get time.
Time is relative.
Ruth uses yesterday as anything that happened in the past.
Ember still struggles with like tomorrow. She always goes like, is it after the next day? Like she uses a lot of that because she's like, what does tomorrow really mean? You know,
just
like
faking it.
After the one sleep, you know,
what is time? That's what she's really asking. Like, what is time?
True. Before we get into this episode, I have to bring something up.
Okay.
I learned about something called time dilation. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then it's not going to be interesting.
Okay, no, explain.
I'll cut this out.
I want to hear you.
Do you know what it is, though?
Well, it's when you experience time slower or faster, right?
If you're going faster.
Oh, you're talking like relativity time dilation.
Yeah. That's I didn't know about this. I mean, I had seen it on movies, but like the idea that like if you travel at the speed of light and then come back to Earth, you will be younger than everyone on Earth by like significant amount of time.
Did you watch
Yes,
the
I did
Buzz
see
Lightyear movie with Ember?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
They do
That's
that?
a big part of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't, but it was just like fascinating to me. I was just like, dude, the idea that like, and then they were talking about watches. That's why you have to reset watches because when you go on a plane or move around or height and all gravity, all that stuff, that like your watch is different than absolute time because of how you move in the galaxy. Like that's insane to me.
The faster you travel, the slower time goes
relative to
everyone else.
Someone who's still.
So that's the whole thing is like if a train is going at the speed of light and another train is not, like the twin, if there's the whole twin thing. That's what the math formula, the math.
Oh, like two twins, how they're by the time they die, they're different ages.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, anyway, if they go through this in the Buzz Lightyear movie where he is constantly trying to find like a new fuel form to go at this like hyper speed.
And everyone else he knows is getting older, but he's still kind of similar.
Exactly,
yeah. Interesting.
Exactly.
Anyway, little just side nerd out there. I was really hoping you didn't know what it was because I wanted to blow your mind. But now that I'm thinking about it, you're a big sci-fi guy. You would have known. That makes much more sense.
It's one of the weirdest
It's too big for my brain. Let alone trying to like apply it and understand it. It's like, forget it. We're just talking about a reality show. So.
This is how I would be on the back if I was. This is if I had cocktail time.
There's this crazy book I read about like alien atmosphere, and they're like, "What?"
Could you imagine? It's like that's what like cocktail hours be like. They want to get to know me, and it'd be like, "This is how we're gonna do this."
I do love that idea though. Just this long rant on like a sci-fi movie you saw. And everyone else is like, what is he doing?
What is he talking about?
But then there's going to be the one that like is obsessed with that.
So do you ever think just about this stuff?
You know what it is? It's very Seinfeld. It's very George. George just is like, he sits there and he starts like going on these rants, but he's always ranting about like a weird just fact. Well, I love that.
It's an issue I have with being like present.
That you're not present or you are present when you do that? I'm
not present. Like someone can be talking to me and they don't realize like I'm literally not there.
You know what?
My brain,
I do.
You realize that?
I realize it because I'll be talking and I'll look at your eyes and no one's home. You kind of got like shark eyes, like you're kind of looking at him, and I'll be like in the middle of talking and I'll kind of look at you and I'll be like, he's not even here right now. Like, he's not listening to what I'm saying right now.
I can't help. I mean, it kind of glosses. Like, I hope you don't take it personally.
I don't take it personally.
I can't. It's just like I don't get what's going on, but it's like my brain will just get.
Because I'll notice it sometimes in the podcast because I'll go on this whole thing about something and then you go like this. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, I just spilled my heart out and you said, yeah. It's because you tapped in the second I wrapped up and you're like, I didn't catch about 80% of that.
Bad. I don't have any control over it. It's just an attention issue I have. My whole life.
That's so funny. I mean, we've all been guilty of that. Okay, let's jump into this episode.
Yeah. Finally, we're to this point.
Dude, we're at the finale here. We're at the first part. Let's just jump let's go person by person. Zach, right? We'll start easy or sad, however you want to talk about it. I thought it was interesting how he said, like, you turned into the Bachelorette that night. You weren't the Rachel that I fell in love with. I thought it was
tight that he said that personally. I thought it was like, again, he said that in person. He didn't say that when he was back in front of her on the show, right?
No, he said that to her. When he was leaving. Like, so when he pulled her away from the rose ceremony, he said to her.
Yeah, to the rose ceremony, but then he was back in the hot seat.
Oh, you mean like that everybody back in the hot seat was like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said it that way. That was kind of the general response to everyone.
That was so upsetting to me of like, I have different thoughts on that.
You kind of got the raw emotion on the show, and then on the hot seat, everyone had like thought about how
it was awesome that he called her out on the show. This whole person that came to meet my family, person who like was taking me seriously up to all this point, and then all of a sudden he was just like, who is this? This is what our fantasy suite's going to be like. And what bothered me was like the closest he got to her just acknowledging what he was saying had validity was she was like, well, I just like needed clarity on da-da-da. And it was like, no, you made your mind up. You had made your mind up that you liked those other guys more than Zach. And rather than just be able to go through it, like you just had to create like a whole thing. And all he wanted was like, you could have just broken his heart. You could have just told him like, hey, like, I'm just realizing like after being on those other dates, like I'm just more into those guys than I am to you. And she just couldn't give him that. It's one of those lessons, I think, dating wise of like, it's not saying Rachel's a bad person. It's just that whenever you're in a scenario, there's always like people, I know I've been in there. I know friends who have done this where they're like, I just really don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's like that concern, that's not your problem. That's not your thing to worry about.
Yeah.
It's 10 times worse if you end up being fake to somebody because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And then they pierce that veil where they're like, wait, to avoid hurting me, you just drug this out for however long.
Well, personally, what I think it was is like, I don't think that she didn't like him. I think that like during like right before maybe the date into fantasy suites, she started going like, there's a missing spark, right? There's a missing element. And instead of, I think where the mess up was, because you have every right to feel the way you feel. I think the mess up was when instead of just going like, there's something missing, can't really figure out what it is. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to have to let you go. It was, maybe you're too young.
That was the thing.
It was like she was too afraid to just, or too nervous to just tell him how she felt. And so she kind of made it like a him thing a little bit. Like, you're not ready. You're too young.
Well, and that's
politically, maybe we're not on the same. Like, there was kind of like certain things like that where it was like, instead of just saying, I don't think we have a connection. And then it made him lose his mind because he's going like, I thought we were going to get married. Everything was perfect. What just happened? I'm not ready. Like, that was the problem where it was like, she has every right to feel like I'm not connected to you, and he has every right to hear that. But when you make it about something it's not, that can really mess with the person's head.
Well,
you saw him; he was devastated.
That
He was
goes
like confused.
back to what I was saying on the previous episode on the light spectrum of the gaslight.
Right. But what I liked though is that when he called her out, she owned it. She said there was just something missing, and I was trying to figure out what it was.
It took that, though.
It took that, but I will say she could have kept it going. She could have kept it going. She did just kind of go, hey, there's something missing. I'm sorry, but whatever. So at least they got there, but it was like he probably had a pretty rough week.
What I think is funny is like it used to, when we watch older seasons of this, it's rare that you saw someone be like, you know what? I'm not going to sit through this rose ceremony.
Yeah.
Now it's like every other episode is someone's like catching on to what's going on. And they're like, you know what? Fuck this. And they're just like, I'm out. I quit before you can fire me.
Yeah, it totally is that. It's quitting before you get fired.
It's that whole situation. It's kind of funny to me. And it's sort of, I think it's a theme of a lot of this stuff is like, you guys agreed to be on this show.
Yes.
Let the show be the show. Say your goodbye. Okay, you realize you're not going through this. There's still a rose ceremony you have to go through.
Let the drama be the drama a little bit. When you quit early, it is a little bit like there's no suspense anymore. You killed it.
Exactly. And it's also for me with the mains, whether it's the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, it's also like don't send them home early. Just keep your freaking options and have someone to send home at the rose.
Right.
Don't just make these like hardline decisions ahead of time. You got time. You made your decision in the moment. Great. You don't need to be like, you know what? Pack your fucking bags. You're done. Just be like, save it for the rose ceremony.
Yeah, like let this play out a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's what we're all here for.
Maybe you'll discover something different.
Think about how many rose ceremonies did we even see this season? I wish we could count them up.
We saw the least amount ever because everyone was just getting axed.
The whole show's about the rose ceremony.
And people are just getting axed out like left and right.
There was probably it's like what we were going to see 12 episodes and we should see a rose ceremony every episode. And I think we've seen like 2 or 3 complete ones.
I know, it's crazy, right?
It's super nuts.
It's super nuts. Well, that's like back to my theory of like, why don't the guys just get engaged and then figure it out later? Why are they so obsessed with like not getting engaged?
I've been really trying not to jump around on that, that's like a big thing. I gotta get my second beer.
Oh yeah, second beer is up.
Keep talking to me though.
Well, next we have, so basically the way Zach ended, he came back on the show. They both were like super apologetic. I felt like that was a little much. I didn't feel like he needed to necessarily like apologize. And then I also just felt like she only just needed to kind of say, hey, we already went through this, but sorry for kind of making it about your age or something. But it was very like, dude, I'm so sorry. And it was a little bit like, okay, I think it's just an unfortunate situation. And she caught a bad vibe. She wasn't vibing and he was thrown off by it. Like, it's really okay to let it be what it is.
I'm really not into the whole, like, I think people are really scared of the potential backlash for standing their ground as that they're like, you're not with them anyway. You're not going to get back together with them. What do you really want when you go into this? To them to concede or like fall on their sword?
Maybe it's more
just
of
like,
a
I'm sorry for
embarrassing thing.
It's like, I just have an issue of being like, totally. But I'm just like, dude, I have a major moral issue of like, I'm sorry for putting my foot down and establishing extremely reasonable boundaries around my emotions.
I'm
you
sorry.
Were kind of like ignoring.
100%.
Sorry that embarrassed you.
Well, not even the embarrassment. It's like, I'm sorry for having an opinion about my relationship. Sometimes it gets a little bit like that.
I think it's like, I'm like,
I feel bad. I felt bad for the situation, but at the same time, I also could imagine being her and being like, uh-oh, there's nothing wrong with this guy. And I just don't vibe. And I don't want to be the bad person here to like, just crush him. And so sometimes you can panic and just kind of like, obviously make that move. But
I mean,
I'm glad she at least just said at the end, like, I was looking for what it possibly could be. She didn't double down on like, well, I think that you are, she did like relinquish that a little bit, which was good.
We can say compared to Aven, Zach might not have had the full package.
Okay. Let's get into Aven now.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The full package. Exactly.
Sorry. Okay. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, she was like,
the whole package.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
Yeah, Zach didn't.
They didn't get there.
They
literally said they just talked all night, and then that's why it was so awkward.
Politics and religion.
My favorite's just like,
what's more divisive?
But it still is the best ever. He goes, good cup of Joe.
Good cup of Joe.
Next morning, there's nothing worse than that comment.
Just like, oh, did you see what Ron DeSantis said?
Nice weather out, huh? Okay, Aven with the family. I thought he nailed it. He did a great job. Like let's not talk about the friends yet. Just like the dad, because the dad was grilling, the mom was grilling, and I felt like he did an amazing job. Like he was sweet, he was kind, he talked about the things that he cared about her. He brought up just how they have a connection.
Aven
that's
had
deep.
been my front runner
Right.
the whole time.
He was just so solid in front of the family. He really did a good job under the pressure cooker. He really played that political game well of like, dad's big alpha male, so I'm not going to try to push that, but I'm also not going to cower. So I'm going to have a nice balance. I thought he killed it. And then the friends just grilled him pretty hard. They were like, she will be engaged.
Well, yeah, and he's like, well,
Well, yeah. So then he goes, okay, well, we'll see, and we'll see if I'm there at that time, right? And then the friends talk to Rachel, and she's blown out of the water. Okay, so now that leaves us with the situation.
Okay, so then this has been one of my biggest things, I think, like about Rachel, her confusing, like her dream desires with what's actually in front of her.
Yeah.
Or like her interpretation of a scenario, which is like Aven hasn't even said he loves you.
Yeah, just falling in love.
He said he's falling in love with you, and you want someone. You're saying that Aven's now going back on his word that he's ready for. He hasn't even said he loves you, and you think that he's about to fully get engaged to you. To me, it's like he has been saying that he wants to leave here with Rachel at the end of it. And that all he's maintained, like, I am ready for a committed relationship, and like I'm falling in love with you. I don't think he's like misleading in any of this. Rachel just wants, to me, it's like she's like, I want the show to end this way. I want the engagement at the end of this. And he even was like, well, if that's what you want, like we can, I guess. But like for me, like I'm not gonna just do it just because to satisfy this like other prerogative. That's like, why are you gonna, at what point does it just mean nothing then? If it's like just a matter of what you want and you're not, to me, it's like she was no longer seeing him or hearing him. It was just very frustrating to me to be like, you're not even willing to hear what he's saying to you.
Yeah.
Which is like I thought what he was saying was super logical, and like, I mean, and that also then is one of my quips, and what upsets me is like, dude, what are you doing? Look at the show you're on. Don't stop playing the game.
This isn't the show of logic. Yeah, right.
You've agreed to be on a game show.
Right.
Treat it as such. It's not a real engagement. It's a game show engagement, dude. This isn't like, I don't think anyone is going to hold you accountable to that if in 6 months it doesn't work out, or in 3 months it doesn't work out.
That's always been my position, just on general. I'm like, what's the big deal? Like, get engaged, go through, then start dating. Like, you don't need to cut this whole thing out just because of some weird word. People really get hung up on the word, So I have two views on.
Like, I'm engaged right now. It doesn't mean anything.
That's a great line.
And it could all fall apart. Who knows? We don't have a date.
Yeah, what is engagement really anyway?
What is it anyway?
It's like a precursor. It's like a handshake deal to the contract.
I'll tell you, it's bigger. A bigger transition is going from just hooking up to officially dating.
Right. That's true. Or moving in is a real one.
That's a much bigger transition than just now we're engaged with no wedding date in sight.
So I have like two. Well, first of all, I have two kind of thoughts on the Rachel and Aven thing. Just discussing Rachel.
I just threw our engagement so hard under the bus.
That was hilarious. So my thoughts on Rachel are, she seems to be, really obsessed with engagement. And then her family pressure seemed too. They are all kind of like, well, she's getting engaged. She wants to get engaged. It was a real, like, everyone is really focused on engagement as like, that is the thing. I'm sure there's like from the previous season too of like, I don't want to be 0 for 2. So I can sympathize with that too. Like being like, I can't go on a show twice and then be the lead and still not be engaged. Like there's probably a lot of like fear there and pressure there. And the family's like, we don't want to go through this again. And it's a little strange in perspective of normal life where it's like,
this is the problem with young people being on the show.
Right. Because it's like, they're like, I'm like, okay, so is Tino going to win just by default because he is down to get engaged? Like, how does this work? Because she said, I saw us at the end. You know what I mean? Like, which is like, means she might have been the most in love with Aven. And it's because she's devastated. She's crying so hard. Now, here's the other end, right? I think that's more the obvious. Like, we all agree, like, there's an obsession. We all have what we want in life, right? If you really just want a certain lifestyle and you're looking for someone to give that to you or a thing, you have every right to feel that way.
She's just being blinded by it.
She's just blinded by, like, the idea, right? Here's the other angle, though. From what it seems like after now watching both their interactions, it seems like he backpedaled. He's logical, yes. What he's saying makes sense, yes. But he even said, she said, we were on the same page. You said you were ready to get engaged. And he goes, yeah, I just got caught up in it. And here's the thing.
That is so true.
Here's the thing. I agree with him that like, hey, this is fast. I don't know. But at the same time, she walks into her family's house on the same page with him. She said that they said, and he even confirmed, I said I'm ready to get engaged. Now, if I walked in and I thought we were on the same page, and then all of a sudden I hear from my buddy that she says to him, she's not going to get engaged to me, I would be completely blindsided. So my thing is like, if you went into this, Aven, saying, I'm down to get engaged, and then you pull the rug out while with the family, for her not to be devastated is unlikely.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it like both people, like it's kind of like on him, because like she said what she wanted. He said, I'm going to give it to you.
Exactly.
So my thing is like, I would imagine Rachel's getting a lot of flack for like being so obsessed or like letting this dream guy go. But she could also be feeling like, I can't really trust you because we were on the same page. Everything was locked in. And then out of nowhere, you pulled the plug.
This is where
it's like, it's a little bit like I could see in her mind the fear of later going on and going, you might do this to me later when we start dating. We'll be right at the edge and then you'll pull the plug again because you're nervous. So I understand that like if he hadn't have committed to engagement and she was obsessed with engagement and then like, what do you mean you're not going to engage? Then I understand the like, whoa, you need to chill. But the fact that he said yes and then pulled it without talking to her before, that's a big one. That
you shouldn't have. Yeah, he shouldn't have disclosed it to her friends. Like he definitely screwed the pooch.
He should have pulled her aside and said, "Hey, I'm having second thoughts." So anyway, those are my.
And it's like, yes, you got caught up in the show, dude. You got caught up in what it is. Don't lose sight of the fact that you're on the game show. Be caught up in it.
But I'm even cool with him not. It's just more like you can't. Like everything he said was so logical, and I agree with him. But you can't say you were going to do it and then pull the plug with the family on that. Like it's very hard to come back from. Very hard, especially when you have someone else who's like, I'm ready.
Or do you just lay some ground rules after the fact? Do the engagement and just be like, look, like, I don't want to get married for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you have your timeline of like, yeah, we met on this show. It ended in this thing. We were like, da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, broads, I'm going to sound old saying this, I think, but up until a few years ago, I thought that having pierced ears kind of stopped at the lobes, and if you were feeling spicy, maybe a cartilage piercing or two. But oh my God, There are so many more piercings that you can do now. The sponsor of today's show, Studs, has actually coined the term earscape, which refers to all the little piercings you can get on your ear and how you can coordinate the jewelry together. They really have become the go-to for all things piercings and earrings. So if you're looking to up your earscape, you have to check out Studs. Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
Oh my gosh, I have studs in my ears right now. If you have a few piercings or just, 2, and you want to refresh your look, Studs Pro Stylists are available in person or online to help you out. They will style your ear. They have a selection of over 250 different styles of earrings. You can change up your look with hoops, huggies, studs, cuffs, dangles, all made with materials that won't turn your ears green and you never have to take them out.
And if you're looking to get a new piercing or pierced for the first time, even Studs is the spot. It is the spot. They have locations in Los Angeles, New York City, Austin, Nashville, Miami, Boston, Seattle, with more coming soon. Remember how the only spot to get pierced used to be in a dimly lit store in your town's local mall? Yeah, this is a million times better than that. Oh my God. Their stores are incredible, okay? So cute. And Studs only pierces with single-use needles, never ever guns, so it's way safer, especially for those more advanced piercings, which means they will actually last, unlike those piercings we all got from the mall. So go in person or shop online to get the cutest earrings. I also have Studs in right now. I never take them off. They are my favorite earrings. Go check them out.
And right now, Studs is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase when you go to studs.com/chatty. Go to studs.com/chatty for 20% off your first purchase. That's studs.com/chatty.
But it must be a Lord of the Flies situation a little bit though, like where people are just losing their minds in the show and they're not able to like extrapolate it.
Just whatever.
Anyway, so that was my view. I believe it wasn't just her. I mean, I do think that like there is a weird obsession with engagement and it's a little like, it's not my style. But I also but if you're on the same page and then someone pulls the plug.
This is my thing though. This is my thing about the age, because if I talk to my friends right now, my friends who are single going into their mid 30s are like, like at this point I realize it's just about work.
Right.
It's just about hard work. And
a relationship.
Yeah. And they're like, fuck it, dude. You're talking about like, okay, like we'll get the engagement done and then we'll like just work hard on the rest of the relationship.
Whatever. Yeah.
Mid 20s, they're like, what the fuck? Like,
where's my ring?
They start
and where's the
sweating
wedding?
and they're like, seriously though, like I'm gonna make this decision right now for the rest of my life. Right. And it's like, you need to get people on there who are like, bro, my life is just flying by me. I got a clock here that I'm late on. Dude, I need to get married tomorrow and I need to start kids the day after.
Right.
That's who needs to be contestants on this show again.
Yeah.
Get these
real
fucking mid 20-year-olds out of here.
Some real 35-year-olds.
I want people who plotted out their lives and they are off track.
Yes.
And they are willing to do whatever it takes to get their life back on track. Those are the decision makers I want to see on here.
Yeah, because all these people are like mid 20s. We need some 35-year-olds.
They're like, of course I was ready to get engaged. To that, look, if I don't do this now, I'm going to be 40 tomorrow.
Problem with the mid 30s though is you're going to lose a lot of that like attention and like love quickly. All the 35-year-olds would be like, well, listen, I think I like to have a good job. The mid 30s bachelor would be like, I like to have a good job. I like to have a steady relationship with your father. I think this will work. Versus like, he loves me or she loves me. It's like, this is going to be very logical. It's going to be like, well, no problem. We'll split the bill.
Mid 30s is going to land us in that generation of like, they're going to say some bad stuff. Yeah, it's going to be like, it'll be perfect to me because it'll be back to just classic like toxic house environment.
Yes. Like,
rather than people too aware of how to carry themselves in front of their phone.
Like MTV, like MTV reality shows.
Yes.
Like Next.
That's
and
what
all
we
those
want.
Crazy shows that were just like, this guy's an idiot.
That's what I want.
We're like, these people exist? Who are these people?
That is what I want.
You want the people that like, you're like, I've never met anyone like this person.
That's the whole thing about this show was like, wait, these people are going to go into a scenario where 30 of them are going to date the same person at the same time. And one of them is going to wind up engaged to her. You have to be fucking crazy to go on that. And now it's like we're all introducing the logic component into this. And they're like, what's an engagement? Really? It's like, get the fuck off the show. Bring me some older people they're just seeing, they're already like, their life has flashed before their eyes and they're seeing all the missed opportunities they had. And now they're willing to do whatever it takes. I want that. I want someone where the stakes are high.
Yes.
Like, what's her face during COVID who got engaged to the dude after like 3 weeks of the show?
Oh,
Claire.
yeah, Claire. And
That's
she literally just left the show in the middle of it. Yeah.
Get me contestants like Claire. Where she's like, this is my third time on here. I'm not fucking this one up.
But you want those to be the contestants, not the Bachelor, Bachelorette.
I don't give a shit. Yeah.
No, because then the show will end too early.
I want
you
30
need
people.
those people.
I want 30 people like Claire coming on the show.
Yeah, right. Who are just ready. Like,
ready
let's
to
go. No BS.
Ready to go. A bunch of them and a bunch of the life coaches. Why are the life coaches always so insanely crazy?
I think it's because they're like, again, it's cart before the
Carl.
horse. Yeah.
I want a bunch of Carls and a bunch of Claires.
Carl's only. Well, I guess that is kind of though what
Carl's only.
It's kind of what Paradise is to some extent, right? It's all the people that are like like loose cannons.
Except last time on Paradise, they were all like, there are rules. Get off the island.
Right.
And you're like, what?
They formed like a pact.
There's no rules.
Like, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
It's because you didn't play by the rules.
Stop that shit. None of us want that. You should all be losing followers. The more you play by the rules, the more you should lose people who pay attention to you. I want people who are like, there are no rules.
No rules.
It's whatever it takes. Real world versus no rules. Not road rules.
Right. But yeah, I'm just kind of like,
that's what this last episode had me feeling a lot like.
Yeah, so at the end of the whole Rachel Aven thing, I felt like they both have your right to feel how you want to feel. It's just like she put a lot of pressure on him with the engagement and with the obsession about engagement, and he pulled the plug. And I just felt like if he wouldn't have done that, he would have been blameless. But you pull the plug. I understand where she's coming from a little bit.
I do too.
Okay, Gabby and Eric.
Eric.
By the way, Grandpa said some real stuff there. He said, you both have to be 90-90, not 50-50. And I thought that might be the biggest truth bomb of the show. It's true, right? If you're 50-50 in a relationship, then it's always a ledger. Well, I've done half my work. Have you done yours? But if you're expecting to go 90 and they expect to go 90, then you're always overachieving and always like building each other up. And I thought, wow, that's some brilliant shit. I've never heard 90-90, but that's the truth, right? If you're always thinking 50-50, you're always going to be kind of being competitive and making sure that like, well, you didn't do the dishes because I didn't do the this or whatever.
That's the kids' perspective.
That's the kids. But when you go 90, if you're just like, I'm going to do more than what she thinks I'm going to do or more than what he thinks I'm going to do.
And without expectation then? Of just like, I'm going to do it because I love you.
Then if you're both doing that, it's like, you can't lose.
Well, and that's a great deal.
Great deal.
Did I ever talk about this? My acupuncturist talked about good deal, bad deals.
No.
Well,
you go to an acupuncturist.
My family, I used to more, but yeah, one of my parents' best friends was this acupuncturist couple.
Whoa.
And they, and we were very good friends with their son for a long time. Anyway, it was a thing, but he talks to us constantly about good deal, bad deal. And so it was just like, in a relationship, 50-50, where each person's keeping a ledger the whole time.
Yeah.
That's a bad deal.
Bad deal.
In a relationship, if someone's putting in 90% effort, but the other person's not also putting in 90% effort, so there's an overplay, also bad deal. Mm-hmm. If both people are putting in 90%, well, now that's a good deal. And he just talks about it to like all these different scenarios about just like, what's the good deal? Obviously in the relationship, like in most things, 50-50 is a very good deal. But I do like the sage advice from the grandfather.
It's the mindset.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, because the truth is, I want to go back. My friend brought this up recently to me about an old man I used to take care of who talked about the truth about marriages. Mm-hmm. He was very old. His wife was going through dementia. He's taking care of her, all this stuff. And he was talking about, how you pick relationships when you're young versus like what your relationship turns into as you get older. And he was telling me, he's like, look, like the truth is like the person you're marrying is the person you're trusting to take care of you when you die. You don't know who it's going to be. Most likely one of you is going to start to degrade before the other person. And you're going to be in a situation where it doesn't become 50-50 or 90-90. It's going to be you're putting in 100% of the work and they can't fucking do anything because they don't even know what day it is. And they can't put their pants on. And you're choosing to love that person and take care of them, hopefully, through that whole point. Or if you're that person who needs all that love and attention, they're going to give it to you. That's what it really is. And it's like extending that trust. And it was just like, it was a very old perspective on it, but it was just sort of like, oh shit, this is how you have to look at the person's like character.
Yeah.
You're not looking at like your attraction to them and how that's been sustained over the few years, like how often you guys are having sex or whatever. It's like, how much do you trust them to take care of your fucking well-being for just, to just love you unconditionally if you end up like, I mean, look at Eric's mom and dad. That shit's not 50-50 anymore.
Right.
And it's like we were all moved by that relationship because it's like, yeah, that is love.
Right.
That's what you should be looking at in terms of this stuff. Is just like, is that the person who's going to take care of you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always stuck with me because I think it's so true. But that to me is like when I'm hearing her grandfather talk about that is like, that's what I'm hearing about.
Well, do you ever notice that when you're struggling in your relationship, it's starting to go 50-50?
All the time.
Right? When you're in the 90-90 mode, it's like really hard to have a bad relationship. But when you're in that when things are difficult, everyone starts to go 50-50. And you start to go, I've been pulling way too much weight around here. You start going there, Well,
and it starts like that to me is where like we're not saying what we need. We're not vocalizing what our needs are. Where it's like, hey, like, oh, man, like I need a day. Or I need to go see my friends, or I need to go do something. I just need this thing. I need you to make an exception. I need to go do this. I need a reset. I need a break. Otherwise, like it does turn into that like tit for tat type of thing. And it's like maybe one person's not saying it. Maybe both people aren't saying what they need. But that's where like those communication foundations start to become way more apparent.
Right. Yeah. Okay. You want to get into Tony and the family?
Yeah.
And then just how that whole thing went down. Dude, I don't know what it was so funny to me, but like Aven was so natural in front of the family. And there was something about when Tony came into, he was nervous. He was so nervous. And he came in and they were just like, how you doing? And he's just, yeah, good. And and then like he had no ability to talk in front of them. He was sweating. He was like so nervous. And the best was like the mom, or I think it was the mom, was like, so what do you have in common with her? Tell me about it. And he's just like, yeah, we have good stuff. And he goes, we can't go surfing together. So she asked for what they have in common, and the only thing he could come up with was what they can't do together. He was so nervous. She's like, okay, I understand. Okay. Like, I don't know what it was, but then also the way that he talks like a bro. And then I thought to myself, I think that's what we sound like.
Except he also
like he was using lots of likes, lots of bros, lots of lots of
but then he also says his shining moments just sound so scripted to me.
Well, he snaps in and out of, so like the family, I remember the family walked in and the family goes, so tell us about yourselves, tell us about your guys' connection, tell us about your first date. And he goes, yeah. And then she goes, remember we did this and we did this, and he's like, exactly. Like, it was so good. And like he just what she said, it was great.
When he's with her dad though, when he's like,
and then he'll snap into like really good like
he's like, look,
one-liners.
Like, I don't know what I could look, I'm gonna take care of her. I'm gonna make her extremely happy, all right? And the dad's like, look, I like you.
Yeah.
Rachel's dad, too, of all the things, he like talked like he was gonna be Big Tony, like he was gonna be the partisan. He's like the easiest dude in the world.
Right.
He's just like, I'm going to put a hard question towards you. What's your answer?
Right. It's very like classic.
You say anything at all that sounds remotely Hallmark, and he's like, great job.
Yeah, like, I'm going to love your daughter.
I like this
and
guy.
I'm going to respect her. And he's like, I like you. It's a little bit like, that's all I gotta say. No, he's kind of like, you could tell he's like teddy bear guy who just is like, I gotta act tough. Like, that's his vibe.
Yeah.
But I thought like, yeah, it was funny.
I think there's a lot of forgiveness there too. He strikes me as like, you could do wrong by Rachel, and then when he's calling you out for it, if you were just like, look, like, I'm gonna do better, I swear, he'd be like, I like this guy.
He's like, I'm your coach. If you relate to being on the sports team,
he's
bros.
like, I made a lot of mistakes. Like,
yeah.
It matters is that it's not that you made the mistakes, it's that you're gonna improve after making mistakes.
What do you do when you fall down?
Get ourselves
get back up again. Hey, brother, come here. Let me get your Coors Light.
What did Batman's dad say to him? What do we do when we fall down, Bruce?
I don't think he's doing Batman quotes.
I say that to Ruth. I quote Batman to Ruth all the time.
And they also didn't grill him like Aven. I feel like they grilled Aven harder. Like they were kind of like, because he even said like, why should I, like, what about you is impressive? And then the friends are like, are you really ready? Like, they didn't really grill Tony like that. Or Tino, I always say Tony. Have I said Tony this whole time?
I, dude, honestly don't even care what his name is.
But
I want to know what the drama is that they drop about
grill
this
Tino.
I will forever call him fake
Tyler?
Fake Tyler.
Or not fake Tyler, but Tyler 2.0.
Tyler 2.0. But he's not like a better version of Tyler. He's like Tyler 0.5.
I always use 2.0 as just like another one, not the next level.
Yeah, because, he's not, I mean, the idea is that they're always improving, but no way this dude's going to date Gigi Hadid.
Oh, no. It's because Tyler was,
timeless. Tyler's an enigma. Like, how is it even Tyler?
Tyler is like a guy that's just like, what? And then at the same time is dating like supermodels, and then like also has like a book, and you're just like, what is happening?
He doesn't even know what's happening.
He doesn't know what's happening. It's happened to him.
It's happened to
him.
He's
like, these like famous girls like hit me up on my DMs, and now we're dating. And apparently she's like famous or something.
It's the ultimate Tyler situation of really like is. Tyler.
Another just a side thing I thought about. I felt bad for Aven in that he was so hard on himself. Like after everything went down, like he was sitting there crying in the ITMs, and he was like, "I failed," and I was like, "Bro, like that was just rough.
Like no,
like,
dude.
Why do you feel so like you just?
You need to step back, watch this, realize. I don't know, like. You didn't fail. You were just dealing with someone who, at the end of it, in my mind, you guys are on different pages and you're both dodging bullets.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Because, you know what was crazy to me? This is what was crazy. Because they kept slipping when they were talking to each other. Like they kept kind of saying shit that kept incriminating themselves. Mm-hmm. Like he incriminates himself by going, I got caught up. Which basically admits to saying...
And he's like, not in a bad way.
No, but he admits to basically saying, I know I said I was going to get ADHD, but now I'm not. And then she slipped up by going, if it wasn't for this show, basically, we'd be together. But because of this show, I need to be engaged. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She literally said, like, in any other world, we'd be together. But in this one, I'm not leaving out of here without being engaged. And it was kind of like, so you admit to...
That
basically
was
saying
issue.
You would get engaged when you didn't feel like it, and you admit that you're going to give up a possible love of your life just to say that you got engaged on the show. Like, what is going on with you guys? It was very weird that they both kind of like admitted this. Like, it was just bizarre that they both kind of admitted that like they're suspending their true feelings for the show.
That's my...
Like she's sobbing, crying, giving up her possible love of her life for this engagement. And he's going, I'm sorry I told you I'd get engaged. It's like, what happened, you guys? Where Tino's just like, I love you.
I love you. Yeah, Tino's the most constant. He's just like, again, biggest red flag for her is like his family does not like the show.
I think the bigger red flag is that he just tells her he loves her whenever she feels nervous.
Oh, whenever it's like
that's my favorite. She goes, I don't know if this is gonna work. He goes, by the way, I love you.
By the way, I'm ready to get engaged.
I'll marry you right now.
I'll drop down on one knee.
Anytime she gets nervous, he just goes, by the way, you're the queen of the world. Okay. Eric,
dude, this is...
Eric and Gabs. I'm going to grab a beer. Keep talking.
We're starting to see the side of Eric we saw episode 1, which is like this passive aggressive, knowing he's the only guy left on the show, using his leverage, and starting to change the way things are going. That's how I feel. He's out here now. He's pulling this card on Gabby after everything. And I don't like it.
He blew it massively. In like, it's funny how these, like a lot of these people are like blowing it in moments, like single moments, blowing the whole thing wide open. My whole thing is, it goes back to Aven a little bit. It's like, it's okay to feel, or Rachel or Aven, it's like, it's okay to feel a certain way. You just got to be communicative. He fucked up massively because he goes like this. Because, by the way, Gabby's being so chill. And she even says, I don't want to put pressure on you. I want you to be honest about how you feel. I feel like you're probably under a lot of pressure right now. Don't feel that way. Be honest.
I don't want either of us to be under pressure.
Okay? Then he goes, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And then fast forward 2 minutes later, when they're in their little off-camera kind of side thing, and he's just like, can we just like date? And it's like, bro, if you wouldn't have said that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and you just would have said, hey, I got to be honest with you, I'm so in love with you, but this is just too much, and I feel like we haven't spent that much time together realistically.
If he had just
but it's like, but he literally said to her, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, which in her mind goes, cool, I can relax. We are totally on the same page. Minutes later, just goes, I think I just want to date. Like, bro, that is some shady player behavior right there.
That's what I'm saying.
That's shady player behavior. Like, that's you. It's the same thing we were talking about earlier. I don't want to hurt your feelings in this moment because we're having a good vibe. So I'm just going to tell you whatever you want to hear.
And the way he talks, though, this is my issue, is the way he talks to her is he's not saying things that make her, he's not like saying things to mislead her, but the way he's talking to her is like, I mean, like, he's acting like it's so cool and so just like, I mean, look, like, I love you, but like, can't we just, just date? Like, we're gonna go do this? Like,
right.
We're really gonna do this? Like, he's cooler than the situation.
Yeah.
And like, if she doesn't match his thing, then it's like she's not, and she just like stormed away and she's just down the hall screaming.
And then he's like, no.
He's just down the hall. He's like, let her do her thing.
Yeah, he didn't even like go after her, being like, hey, I love you. Like, that's the thing I felt that was different about like Aven, Zach, like all these guys. It was like they felt like
it's what I
like
said.
Chasing, like they were like, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I love you. Zach's like, I'm annoyed that you made me feel this way. So I'm not.
Dude, he's being super manipulative.
He's being manipulative.
He's very aware. He's the only person left on the show. Now he's
totally
like,
is.
oh, I don't have to like, now it's not just about me catering towards her. Let's see what she'll do under pressure for me.
A little bit of an insight into what like reality looks like with him, like in real life.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is, I want to say, the red flag we pointed out, episode 1, big time.
Yeah.
Which was that weird passive aggressiveness, which they showed us. And I always said they're not going to show that stuff unless it's going to come back. That's a character trait. This feels weird about it. Pre-ripped jeans, dude. I don't like it.
Well,
Lies.
it's funny because he's like,
what? Okay, I'm going to take it back to the pre-ripped jeans. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
let's do it.
Pre-ripped jeans are lying to the world. You're lying to everyone, making it look like you ripped those through wear and tear. You didn't. You're lying.
Take.
And we can all see that you lied about it.
Yeah.
Designer is just liar.
But think about it. If you wear cargo shorts and you never use the cargo part, you're lying to the world that you transport more items than most people.
To me, if your shorts have lots of pockets, you better have a reason for all of them.
Like, you better have a lot of gear that you bring with you.
Now, when I was a little kid and I wore cargo shorts,
we used them.
Goddamn right, I filled them
up.
There was
toys, dirt,
all kinds
rocks.
of stuff, dude.
When do you get past the rock phase? Ember's in a big rock phase.
She carrying rocks around?
Well, she'll just pick up a random rock, nothing special about it, barely anything special about it at all, and be like, can we take this? And I'm like, we know how this ends. I take this home. I have 40,000 rocks now, and I throw them out, and you've never noticed them.
You better go through. You better go through the pockets. What is the deal
with the rocks?
I don't know, dude. Kids are just weird.
But in some way, it's like special. They're like, look at this special little thing I found.
It's like a little detail, like some tactile detail where like, I just don't pay attention to the world in that way. I don't care to interact with the world anymore in that way.
We're numb.
I know. I'm disconnected.
We're shark eyes.
Just black eyes. I can't see it. I can't see it in front of me unless I can smell it or sense its movement.
If it's bleeding.
Yeah, just blood. Otherwise, it's just...
It's like you can't even hear. Just all you hear is this. Anytime someone's talking, it's just
blood.
And then no. Then you go, yeah.
Yeah. I love. It makes me think of the Fantastic Mr. Fox when the mole. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I know what you're talking about.
The mole, there's a mole in it, and he'll just sort of zone out, and his pupils change.
It's the stop motion movie. It's the movie with like little characters.
Yeah, but his pupils will just go into this weird mode, and they're like, "Oh, he's not here anymore," and he's just like, and they just like snap their fingers. He's like, "What? Who?" And he comes back.
He just blacks out.
It's just like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I just, and this is, again, I feel like these are the games that these mid 20-year-old Gen Z bullshit fucking people play on this show, and I'm over it. I want people who feel like their life has escaped them.
You want panic.
Yeah.
You want urgency.
Yes. Not this kind of, I don't want people to play games like this where they're like, hedging bets. I want people to just be like, you want the options to be limited, because you got to think about these mid-20s attractive people. They walk off the show, now they have more options than they ever had. I want desperation.
Yeah, you want a feeling of, I don't have time.
Yeah,
we need to make this happen now.
I needed to get engaged yesterday. All my friends, I want the person who's coming on being like, yes, I'm ready for marriage. My brother's married. My sister's married. Right. All my
parents are
married.
Judging me.
They all have kids. My parents are like, whatever. And then when you go to meet their family, they're like, all I got to say is it's about time. Let's just get some girl in here who says that she halfway likes him, and we'll just lock that thing down. That's the stuff I want to see. That's what I want on this show again. Some real panicked where everyone's panicked and concerned for this person. Where they're like, he's really good. He just needs to get the hell out of his own way.
Yes.
Hopefully he's fooled her. Hopefully you guys have fooled her into thinking he's a total catch.
Right. How long do you think you'll be engaged? I like how it just out of the clouds came out of that one, surprised you.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, look, like, for me...
You're like, I'm thinking a 10 to 12 year
period.
No,
for Becca and I, the timestamp, like right now, it's really holding it up, is being indecisive about the scale of the wedding that we want to do. Because...
I like how that's the issue. It's not like whether we're ready. It's like...
friends,
I want to know if I need to spend every dime I own on this thing, or if we're going to do a nice, small one.
So for me, the engagement is like, I like... Her friends got engaged and they got married within like a few months of the engagement. And that's kind of my inclination, is like, I'm not saying it. I'm not asking because I'm like ready 2 years from now. I'm asking because I'm ready right now.
Exactly. Right.
But I don't care how the wedding happens.
Once you have a couple kids too, it's not really like a...
No, this is what we always say.
Like, what are you afraid of at this
point? Dude?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the ceremony...
You're going to go big, dude. I want it to be a Cirque Day. So
this is the thing, is like, I was talking to some friends who were like, I just went to a couple weddings recently. One of them was the whole ceremony where they invited, it was like, they invited a lot of people, beautiful location, great dinner.
Yeah.
They had buses to transport us to and from like where it was. And then they had an after party location and all of that stuff. And it's like, it's a lot of money. that goes into this. And this isn't even like as like it wasn't like overly ostentatious.
Not what you're trying to do.
But it was still like you're dropping tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. And I was just like, and then we went to another friend's wedding.
And you want like after. Live elephants and stuff. So it's going to be.
I mean, when you're going to dream, you got to dream. You know what I mean? You got to go big. But when I went to another friend's wedding and they were like, hey, like we're only inviting like 6 of our friends and the rest of it's just family. We're doing a very small ceremony, like maybe 20 people. And then the next day, we're all going to get together and we rented out this little location and we're all going to get together and do some toasts there. Or like I've had friends do courthouse weddings and then they spend like sub $10,000.
And they do like a big party.
Yeah. And everyone comes. And you know what I don't give a shit about?
What?
Anyone's ceremony.
True.
The dinners, because they're usually not that great. Like when you have a halfway decent wedding meal at a dinner, dinner at a wedding situation, you're like, yo, like catering was like pretty good.
Well, this is like our whole thing we talked about. It's like booze and food. As long as those things are good, everyone's having a good time.
You know how much money pretty good costs to serve pretty good to 150 people?
A lot.
A shitload.
A lot.
And so I was just like, it's not about whether or not it's feasible or you can swing it. It's more so like, bro, like,
how do we want to do this?
Why would we settle for pretty? Why would we spend
like
whatever?
Don't we want it to be great?
Pretty good. When I'm like, maybe a courthouse and like a sick party sounds tight.
Right.
Or like maybe who cares?
Right.
I don't know. It's like we just got to figure it out because I'm like I could go.
It could go either way.
I could go any direction.
You
on
could
it.
go extravagant of the year or something chill and small.
That is the biggest holdup for us with the date is just simply deciding what we want to do. Beck and I, we could be engaged for the next 5 years
or 2 months, depending on how it goes. Right.
We might just make the decision and just go get the documentation.
Knowing you guys, I know what you'll be like. You'll be just like one day have a conversation on a vacation, and all of a sudden it's like. Weddings in 2 months.
Most likely, we'll just end up going and getting married just to get the certification.
And then you'll just throw the biggest party ever.
And then we'll just plan like a normal wedding like way later.
Right.
Maybe if it ever happens.
Right. On Mars.
Yeah.
Sick.
If anything, the wedding's for Ruth at this point.
Yeah, honestly, it really is for the kids.
She's so excited about it.
I want my dress and I want to be up there.
She's like, you guys are she's telling people that we're getting married on her birthday.
Right, of course.
Her birthday party is going to be us getting married.
That has become Ember. Anytime she asks for something, I'm like, maybe your birthday. I think at this point I've racked up like 3,000 gifts because she just asks for stuff all the time, and I'll be like, oh, maybe on your birthday.
Maybe ask Santa.
If I back up everything I've said, it'll be in debt for the rest of my life, paying for the gifts that she's asked for.
Ruth is now at. It's almost Christmas.
Oh yeah,
that's happening already.
Yeah,
it's almost Christmas, Dad.
It's like 4 months away.
Halloween hasn't even happened yet.
There's a Halloween, Thanksgiving. We got some stuff going on before that. All right. Well, we got one more week before we're in paradise. Well,
touch sand. What did we say? We came up with some saying. We had some. What was it? You may have touched sand, but you won't be kissed by the sun.
Oh, that's really
good. For the
good.
people who go home early, there's no tan. They'll just have some dusty toes from the sand, but they won't have that post sunburn tan.
The sunburn. Kissed by the sun.
How is that Seal?
Yeah.
Is it really kissed by the sun?
No, kissed by a rose.
Kissed by
a rose.
Who is Seal married to?
The Victoria's Secret model, Heidi Klum.
That is right.
Yeah. That's some our generation stuff. That's some us in high school shit right there. Well, we love you guys. Have an amazing weekend. Finale next week. Then we touch sand. It's gonna be great. Peace and love.
Peace
Enjoy
and love. Spread weekend. Positive vibrations.
Yes.
Don't be the person with bad vibes.
No bad vibes.
No bad vibes.
Only dad vibes.
Good vibes only.
Peace and love. Love you guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.